2 weeks left in the baseball season, and we are talking all kinds of fantasy stuff, trying to get you some help on this final 2 weeks, these tough final 2 weeks, all coming up next on the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Happy Sunday night, everybody. Welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. I am Scott Jenstad, joined as always on Sunday nights by Jeff Erickson. If you please rate and review the podcast. If you listen to us all year, we'd really appreciate that. Jeff, it's another football Sunday where we have to talk. We got to kind of power through and get our FAAB in and all that. And we got a lot of good baseball races here. But how are you tonight?
Doing well. Yeah, a lot of great baseball races. I have some great races, including one where you and I are 1-2 in a league. It's fun that became a pretty good sweat. And then, a couple other leagues that are fun. I wish my main event teams were a sweat, but that's okay. But it's fun to have a dog in the race with the Reds. Even when it's painful on a day like today where they lose and everybody else wins, it's seemingly there. But yeah, it hanging on every day, every pitch. It's wild, especially in the National League where there's so many.
Yeah, there's so many teams are still in it. Yeah, main event wise, I have a couple of middling teams. We talked about it a bunch, but I have one team that is in second place right now. I looked at it today, can gain like 7 points down the stretch if things go well. It could get me close to first, but it's like everything has to go pretty well. But like 7 actual attainable points, not like catching 12 home runs, but like catching up 3 home runs. Or
right.
I went through all the categories today. I'm almost dead last in stolen bases in the whole thing, but like I can't. The person behind me can't catch me. I can't catch the person in front of me, so I'm just giving up. I'm fully going, not even worried about stolen bases, trying to get other categories. But it's wild. You got names we don't normally talk about, names we didn't draft about, names we didn't think about that are really important down the stretch. September baseball is different, but fun in its own way and frustrating in its own way too.
Oh, 100%. And the thing is, there have been all season long we've been talking about how hard it is to acquire saves. Well, there have been some attainable saves lately, and that's made a difference.
In that main event, I picked up Ryan Helsley last week, 3 save week. I mean, that was massive.
Oh yeah, huge week there, and he was cut in so many different leagues that it was a little bonus for us there. That one that's been big for us. I'm looking in Yahoo Friends and Family that we're in together there, and that's one where I've been able to kind of scrounge around a little bit. I held Helsley all along. That was something where I've been able to sneak in.
We do have an IL slot there, or 2 of them, so that helps a lot in holding Helsley.
Yes, yeah. It certainly does. And yeah, he got one today. Alex Lang was in, he's out, he's in, he's out as the closer. He's back in, and he's been that was a fun little pickup. Tanner Scott has been a great human being for the month of September.
He has been he's been as valuable as a player in the month of September for in fantasy.
He's had saves. He had an inning and 2/3 win. He's been on fire. Pete Fairbanks blew one today, but he's been great in another league that I'm in. It's finding those little heroes.
He blew a big one today though.
Yeah, he did.
Tampa Bay win that game. They're back. I know they clinched the playoffs, but they would have been back tied with Baltimore with 2 weeks left. Now they're 2 back. I'm really rooting for Baltimore. I really like that team. They are a lot of fun. Another walk-off win today. They after dropping Friday's game, they won Saturday and Sunday. It's been a fun little race. Both those teams are easily in the playoffs, but the AL East has still been fun with those 2 teams.
Absolutely. Really, really fun watching them play go. I got to give Fairbanks credit, a little bit of grace though, because he asked him to get a 2-inning save. Through 39 pitches. So that's go pick up Robert Stevenson for the next save opportunity, perhaps.
Jeff, I already got him.
All right. I figured you did.
He's been really good for like a month and a half. He's been really, I know that he got a save this week too, but the ratios and strikeouts have been really nice.
The Rays do this every year. They find these relievers. Robert Stevenson, freely available to the whole world.
Yep.
Was it the Nats that cut him? Or was the Pirates that cut him? It was the Pirates that cut him. The Pirates. You could use a guy like that, right?
Yep.
Sean Armstrong available everywhere. At the beginning of the season, he's been amazing for them. He also blew it today too. But point is, he's been so good all along. He had a .80 WHIP and a .76 ERA this year coming into this game. Jake Diekman has been so much better with the Rays than the White Sox. Go figure. but they do this all the time. And Kevin Kelly, another guy, no profile at all. And they turn these guys into something.
Robert Stevenson in the second half, 20 innings, 1.35 ERA, 0.94 average against, with a 47.8% strikeout rate and a 4% walk rate. Like, that is a bonkers set of as good as a reliever a set of 20 innings can get. It's just insanely good.
That's something I can interest you in. Yeah.
I just been throwing him. I'm like, I'm gonna either do that or pick up a terrible reliever. I'm like, just give me the good innings, give me the strikeouts, and I'm just gonna move on and hope I steal a save or win. And just I've been playing him a bunch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so we're talking about the AL East. The AL West is wild too. It seemed like when we talked last week, maybe Houston was going to run away with it, but then Texas got a little bit hot and they got swept over the weekend. Then Mariners got swept over the weekend, so they both lost over the weekend. The Astros are the only team in the AL West who does not have at least a 3-game losing streak, which is pretty amazing. They're up 1.5 games on Texas, 2.5 on Seattle. And the wild part about this is like all three of those teams, like they're not guaranteed to be in the playoffs too. One of those teams, could be out. There's 3 teams in the AL wild card fighting whoever 2 in the West are not in first, and then the Blue Jays all within 1.5 games of each other. It's a mess there too. And you could slip out of the AL West and not make the playoffs at all.
Exactly. And that's happened. Like every team except for the Astros has done that. And then the Astros, they lost like 2 in a row to the A's. They lost over the weekend to the Royals, at least I think in 1 game, maybe 2. It was A's and Royals week, the same thing that the Blue Jays feasted on the week before. It's just wild to see that.
It's too bad the Padres couldn't have A's week more often. They might still be in this thing.
Yeah, no kidding.
They pounded the crap out of Oakland this weekend. That was ugly. They smoked them. Juan Soto went crazy today. Funny comment in the chat. Someone thinks that we should let Deion Sanders run the Rockies on the side. It'd be hard to be much worse than what the Rockies do, and I think that Deion could probably turn them around too. You mentioned the NL wild card. The Cubs got swept this weekend by the Diamondbacks. Head-to-head action here.
Mm-hmm.
They've lost 5 games in a row. I think we talked 2 weeks ago. We're like, well, the Phillies and Cubs are in, and it's that last spot for 4 teams, but not anymore. The Cubs are tied with the Marlins for the 3rd spot. The Diamondbacks are a half game ahead of that. Reds are a half game behind. Giants are 2 back. They finally won a game today. It is 5 teams for 2 spots and wide freaking open.
Yep. And everybody takes turns playing very well for a couple of weeks and then playing horribly for a couple of weeks. Our Reds included on that. I mean, our Reds, the funny thing is I complained a lot about them not adding pitching at the deadline, and I still will, but it's their offense that's really been the thing that the last month and a half that hasn't been good. I mean, Ellie's in a massive slump. They were missing Jonathan India for a long time. It turns out they were actually missing him. They were missing Fraley for a long time, and I don't think he's all the way back.
I thought their lineups are weird early part of this week. Like, I don't know. CES was like just sitting for even against a lefty.
They're going he's actually full platoon now.
I guess, but it was even like a lefty he sat, and it was like he's playing well. And then over the weekend, he had a home run stolen base yesterday. He had I think he had a couple hits today. He had 2 hits today and another home run. Like, I don't know if I feel of that lineup with all the guys they have that are out. I think he should just be playing.
The Reds are going full Giants with their lineups, right?
They really are. Yeah.
Don't go full Giants. I mean,
never go full Giants.
Yeah, you have to. I get it, but like they got Bader and Renfroe to be on the bad side of a platoon. I'm like, yeah, okay.
And it's one of those things. Like I guess they kind of were out there, and like we might as well claim them for free. So it's hard to really blame them. But yeah, they're really crowded right now.
Yeah, they are.
But yeah, it's fun. Do you have we got 2 weeks left? Who's going to win? Who's going to get those 2 spots in the NL? If you had to pick it right now.
I still think
I'm taking Miami for sure.
Okay.
I really like the way Miami's playing right now. Got some good young pitching. Jazz is back. Home run or grand slams are back-to-back days. Jorge Soler's back today. I think Miami's going to get in.
Yeah, they had that inning against the Braves yesterday, where it was a 5-5 game, and all of a sudden it was 11-5. And it was like, Berger hit one out, and they just erupted in the dugout. You just love that feeling. I mean, but yeah, and the fact is they swept the Braves.
Swept the Braves this weekend. And I tell you what, Jake Berger's been an incredible deadline pickup.
Yeah, he has. I got to say the timing on facing the Braves was pretty good. It was right after they had clinched, and then Acuna was banged up. Yeah, but Acuna doesn't pitch, and they were pounding the Braves pitchers. So that's something and the Braves. I mean, Max Fried got a little banged up. They're not full on concern level of the Dodgers, for instance, with their pitching, but it's there. I like how though we worry so much about the Dodgers pitching. They go into Seattle and sweep them.
Yeah, of course. It's amazing. Like I know we talked about their pitching, and I worry about the playoffs, but man, they just know how to win baseball games. It's crazy. They sat everybody today. They sat Betts, they sat Freeman, sat Muncy, kind of get everybody a Sunday off, and they still beat Seattle, who's a team in the playoff mix. It's not like they're beating the A's. I mean, it's just they just know how to win. It's wild. They just know how to win games. I don't know how in the playoffs it'll work. Because you need pitching in the playoffs, and they got a lot of guys that are hurt, but. I don't know. I would never count them out or pick against them. I just think they're just so tough.
Yeah, they are. They really are. I think there is an organizational culture. I think that's one thing. Dave Roberts might not be the best tactical manager. I really think he gets the human side of managing.
I do too. There are times where he does stuff like in bullpen wise. I'm like, really? Is that what we're doing here? But yeah, I think you're right. I think in terms of like getting guys playing hard and kind of working that clubhouse with a lot of big names and stars, I think he does a really good job at that.
Yeah. And it helps when your stars, like, your star is Mookie, who doesn't have, well, here, I'll play out of position. I'll do that. Fine. No problem. You want me to play second? No problem. You want me to play short? No problem.
Yeah.
You'll just do that. I mean, what a great start. And Freddie Freeman's super, super classy too.
Yeah.
You start with that. And everybody kind of follows in line, and that works out pretty well.
Yeah. We both live here, and we also obviously root for other teams, so it's hard to be a Dodger fan, but it's hard to not like this group right now. They're a fun they're a fun team to watch. Yeah, I find myself late games at West Coast. I always flip on the Dodgers, and I love Mookie's one of my favorite players, so it's they're a fun team. I will root for them in the playoffs for sure.
I wanted to hate them because of like the 6 years I couldn't watch them.
Yeah.
And I grew up hating them because we were in the same division as the Big Red Machine.
So Kirk Gibson, Jeff. That's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
I'm not a Tommy
Lasorda fan.
Having a massive grudge.
Steve Garvey is not my Padre. I mean, there's all sorts of things there.
So let's jump into the fantasy week. We got 2 weeks left. Obviously, a lot of leagues. We talk about this in April. A lot of leagues come down to a couple runs or a couple home runs, a couple of runs. Make sure you're grinding more than anything. Make sure you're checking every lineup and that kind of stuff. But let's look at week 26. Still a pretty big week. We've got a lot of teams with 7 games. In the AL, we got the A's, Guardians, Tigers, and Orioles. In the NL, we got the Brewers, Cardinals, Dodgers, Phillies, Mets, and Nats. We do have a 5-game team this week. The Diamondbacks, off their sweep of the Cubs, have 5 games, 2 against the Giants, 3 in New York against the Yankees. Yankees Diamondbacks, kind of a fun series for a late in the season. The Yankees are quietly playing really hard, playing really well. They're above 500 now. Their youth movement has been, they're not going to make the playoffs or anything, but their youth movement has been kind of fun, made them much more watchable those last few weeks than they were the month prior.
Yeah, I was seeing like chatter on Twitter, I think from John Boy and maybe others, like, hey, they got 6 games left against the Jays,
Yeah.
Give me a sweat. And then the Jays won on a walk-off win today, and then the Yanks got beat. So that kind of quelled that talk a little bit. Yeah,
suddenly they're 6.5 out of the third wild card spot. They're not going to quite get there, but you give them credit. They've those guys have played. They're played really hard this last month. They have not. They're not giving in. They're back over 500. And like I said, they've got some fights. It's too bad Jason Dominguez got hurt because he was right in the middle of that too. It sucked. You think Giancarlo Stanton can get over 200 for the season or by the end of the year or no?
What's he sitting at? I don't have him anywhere.
He's 193.
I mean, he could.
Yeah, get really hot though.
When you're that low, it doesn't take much to push you over.
Sure, but when you're that low over 95 games, it's probably pretty hard to hit 260 over 2 weeks.
That's probably true.
193, like it's kind of quiet how terrible he's been this year.
Yeah, it has.
And I mean, the home runs are there, when he's actually healthy. But I watched a bunch of his at bats. It seems like he's just guessing. I think he's trying to get a mistake to hit early, and then he ends up swinging a slider away on strike 3. It's been a tough watch. He had 2 more strikeouts today, down to 193. I don't know what they do. You just keep playing him, right? Like, I don't know what you do next year with him and all that kind of stuff.
Well, I wonder, have injuries taken their toll? Is it kind of one of those scenarios there where, his bat's just that much slower, and it gives him he's already a big guy, big strike zone, a lot of holes. Does that maybe kind of just make that a lot more exploitable? Is the book out on him? And as long as you hit your spots, you're good.
It could be, except then you look and they have the top 10 fast or highest exit velos in the whole season. He has like 7 or 8 of them.
Well, yeah. So maybe he's just guessing the right.
I think he's guessing too.
Yeah.
He signed for 4 more years and then a club option in 2028.
Yeah, but everybody praised the Yankees when they did it, and it's probably self-included. Hey, they're getting their guys at all. But yeah, I mean, he can't. He can't really run well a whole lot. He can't really play the outfield.
He can't really run at all. It's weird watching him run. I think they've pretty much told him don't run hard because he gets hurt. But I mean, that's a problem there too.
What's Rizzo's contract like? Is he done after this year, or did they re-up him?
I thought he was. I'm trying to remember. I'll look at it right now. Yeah, I thought I'm looking. Great radio here.
I could look as well, but while we're doing that, but because he's
loading. He's signed for 2024, then a club option in 2025.
Okay, so again, I mean, they've got all these kids coming up, but they still have like these bad contracts that are going to last a while.
I mean, they shed Donaldson, which is a big one. I wonder what they'll do with some of these other guys.
Well, they didn't really shed it. I mean, they just cut him. I mean,
they just cut him. I mean, they got rid of the player, I guess I should say when I mean that. But
yeah, well, they're still on the hook for a couple more years on DJ LeMahieu.
Yeah, that's a tough one too, because he's just kind of just a guy at 34 right now.
Because he signed a 6-year deal in 2021.
Yeah, you got a good contract.
I mean, think about that. That means he's through 2026.
Yeah,
that's 3 more years of this. Ugh,
gross. It's not great. They don't have a lot of guys signed for next year, but the ones they do are like they have 6 guys over 15 million, and they have 4 guys over 27 million.
Yeah. Well, and it's when you're the Yankees, when you're in New York, really hard to rebuild. To just only because of the tolerance for rebuilding, and especially and I mean they had to re-sign Judge because we saw what their offense was without Judge.
Yep.
But when you re-sign Judge, that kind of preempts any sort of rebuilding. You just can't do it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting how it may be a fascinating team next year because they will have these old guys, they'll have all these young guys they want to play, and then you've got to figure they sign a couple guys too.
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody's like, oh, they're going to have 6 young guys in the lineup next year, and I think that might be, they may try and make that 2 or 3 and kind of see who's the best, but it'll be interesting. They have a lot of good young players. You wonder if maybe they move a couple, try and get a veteran guy. It'll be a pretty interesting offseason for New York. Good offensive schedule this week. The Braves and Dodgers were the top couple there, but obviously there's none of those guys are really available. But if you could sneak some A's in your lineup, Jeff, it might be a week. To play Oakland offense. They have 3 against Seattle to start the week, which is always tough. So they faced Brian Wu, Castillo, and Kirby. But then the end of the week, they get 4 against Detroit. They might be a sneaky, decent play this week.
Yeah. I mean, it depends on which Detroit, though, right? I mean, Detroit's actually got some arms that are interesting.
They do face Skubal, which is tough in there, but. Yeah, they get 3 Detroit lefties, so maybe like a Brent Rooker week. Brent Rooker quietly, I think he has 26 home runs now. I don't know when that happened, but I thought they were all in April. Most of them in April, but he's kind of picked it up lately. It might be a decent week for A's. The Brewers are really nice this week. 4 against the Cardinals, who obviously are just playing out the stretch, and 3 against Miami. Pretty good setup for the Brewers too.
Yeah, I mean, and Oakland misses Reese Olson, but they do get Gibson Long, who was like a strikeout machine.
Might be a segue to the FAAB coming up here in a little bit. We might talk about some Sawyer Gibson Long. That's a great name, by the way.
It is.
It's a really good name. Best 6 gamer. If you can pick up any Padres, I don't know how deep your league is. Padres have a great setup. They play 3 against Colorado and then 3 against St. Louis. Of all the 6 gamers, they are definitely the best one. I love that setup for San Diego. I think that might be a big week for Padres offense.
It's a little Garrett Cooper time.
Yeah, I wish there was someone besides Garrett Cooper I could pick up.
Well, I'm just thinking like who the confluence of available and might be able to help a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, Luis Campusano, catchers playing a bunch. Anyway? He was available. I saw a couple leagues available. 12 teamers is definitely available.
Sure.
15 teamers is probably picked up last week. Trent Grisham was kind of the name that came to mind. He'll kill your batting average, but someone I think they face a slew of righties if I remember it right. And he played. They get 2 righties against Colorado, and then I think they get a couple righties over the weekend against St. Louis too, which is a good setup. Maybe 2 righties against St. Louis too. So maybe some Trent Grisham. Obviously not picking up any of the studs, but Jerkson Profar is back for them playing at first base. He's actually playing more than Garrett Cooper right now, so he'd be a decent add there. I looked at Matthew Batten there, but didn't really see a lot that I liked.
Yeah, it was Matthew missing, but I like Timothy Tunk's instead of pro-far, anti-far. I like that. Well
There you
played.
go. Yeah, but the bottom half of the lineup is guys that are probably pretty available in leagues, and you're kind of looking for anything at this point. And I like their schedule. After the top six, you can pretty much get it going there. But let's jump into FAAB. What did you do on offense this week? It was actually weird. There was actually a lot of interesting names on offense. Especially in the outfield, I had a long list of names. Mine started off with an old friend, someone who was only 30% rostered in the main event. Chris Bryant is back. They had a good week this week in cores, and then they go on the road this week. But the last week of the season, they're home all week, so it's kind of a double play. Like, he's probably playable this week, even on the road. But the next week, I think they get 7 games this week, 4 against the Dodgers, who probably aren't playing, don't care, and probably not throwing anybody deep. Get a lot of bullpen arms there, and 3 against Minnesota in the year. Minnesota probably won't be playing for anything at that point too. It's a pretty good setup for Rockies hitters down the stretch, especially this final week. So I grabbed Bryant now.
Yeah, sure. Why not? Yeah, I can see it. Yeah, it's a shame you miss out on the cores week, but
yeah, I wish I did it last week, but he came back, and he hasn't done a lot. Again, you're just looking for live bodies, and I just figure maybe I'd play him this week, but I would definitely play him next week.
He faces Waka, Snell, Lugo. I don't like that.
Nope.
Hendricks, Wicks, Assad. I can live with that.
I can live with that too. I'd probably sit him against the Padres and play him against the Cubs.
Yeah, seems about right. I mean, and who knows? I mean, beggars can't be choosers sometimes at this time of season too, though.
It's true. I mean, you got guys that are banged up. You got guys on good teams are gonna be sitting a bunch too. We saw, like we mentioned, all the Dodgers sat today. I got like Brian Dela Cruz is banged up, and Kirsten Yelich is a troubling one. He came back on Friday. I'm like, all right, he's back. I put him in the lineup, and then he I think he left early on Friday and then didn't play Saturday, Sunday. I'm not sure how much we see of him down the stretch, to be honest.
I agree. Yeah, and the Brewers, I mean, they've got the division essentially locked up, right?
Yeah, they're 6.5 up with 13, 12 games left. Like,
they do have a lot of head-to-head against the Cubs, but it would take like an epic sweep by the Cubs for that to matter.
Yeah, Milwaukee would really have to melt down to get that even close by the last weekend. So I just think that they're not going to catch the Dodgers or the Braves for like record or home field or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think they realize they probably can't win without Yelich being really good. They can't make a run without him. I think they do everything they can to get him as right as possible for 2 weeks from now.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, I went into FAAB figuring I wasn't going to play him. I thought about dropping him too, but I didn't. Maybe he'll get healthy and play last week, but I don't think he'd be a horrible drop right now, to be honest.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Sorry, I looked up at my TV screen and saw Brandon Staley doing a press conference. And I had to laugh because the Chargers are just an abomination.
Oh, so
there's never been a team that's lost that many close games all year, every year, year after year.
It's just in their DNA, right?
It's impossible though. It's different players, different coaches. It's the same thing every freaking year. It's wild.
Yeah. I think they score. Jeff Feinberg was tweeting this out. I think
he was probably real happy.
Yeah, he was really happy. They've scored like over 50 points, 0 turnovers, and are 0-2. Like the only team in history. Like there's one other stat in there. You can track him down. He's a good follow. But yeah, he's not happy right now. I mean, how is that defense so bad? Every time I looked up, Tannehill was beating him on a deep ball.
And then I looked up and Tannehill made a mistake. I'm like, oh, they finally won the game. And then I look back up and Tannehill's driving, and it's just Treylon Burks is running all by himself. But anyway, segue. Sorry, I just saw Brandon stay on the screen. I had to laugh. Other offensive players. What'd you do with Heston Kjerstad in Baltimore? Got the call up, hit a home run on I think it was Friday night. They hit the home run. They play a bunch of righties this week, so the chance he might play. I think they might play 7 righties, either 6 or 7 righties this week. Did you do anything on Kjerstad getting the call up? Coming off a pretty darn good year in the minors, he got 21 home runs and hitting over 300 across AA and AAA.
Yeah, he's an interesting case because he missed so much time after he got drafted. He seems like he's an old prospect, and he is, but in part because he missed 2 years basically due to injury. So, I didn't get him yet. I still have a couple of chances to do so.
Scarf.
In fact, I got to remind me 15 minutes till the deadline there. Better get on it. But, my 8th place team, it needs a little shot in the arm. So we'll see.
He actually gets 7 righties this week. So you got to figure he plays a decent amount. I mean, they have a lot of guys, but he is a lefty. You got to figure he plays I'd set the over under at like 5 games this week, and that's pretty workable right there for a guy who's a legit pretty good player. And you mentioned the pedigree, he was second overall pick in 2020.
Yeah. Correction, 10th place team in Scarf. Don't diminish the work my team is not doing.
There you go. What about these other young guys? We got a lot of young guys in the outfield. Estevan Florial got called up when Jason Dominguez won the IL in New York, playing a bunch. Aaron Boone is actually quoted saying we're going to let him play a lot. Had a big year in the minors. I think he was at like 28 home runs and 25 steals, something like that. I'm looking right now. Yeah, he was 28, 25 while hitting 284. That kind of piqued my interest. Sadani Raffaea in Boston is playing a bunch, kind of a toolsy guy there too.
Rafaela, right? Yeah.
Is it Rafaela?
I think so.
I
was watching a Red Sox game the other day. It was like when they were playing a standalone game, I think doubleheader against the Yankees, one of those days.
They did have that.
So I heard it a couple of times.
Yeah, I mean, he's 22, but I mean, he has 36 stolen bases. He's got 20 home runs in the minors. I mean, you're just kind of looking for anybody with some tools that can spark these last couple of weeks. I think that Bryant, Rafaela, and Florial was kind of the top 3 guys I had in terms of and then a little Kerstad, but those other 3 guys I just think they're going to play a bunch.
Yeah, they are. Why not? That's it's kind of embracing the unknown this time of year.
It's totally fully playing time. Yeah, I'm picking guys up who have some tools and did some good stuff in the minors and are playing a bunch. I mean, there's no doubt you're just hoping to kind of catch a little fire for 2 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. And we find our heroes that way sometimes, and then we overpay for them next year, and that after a 2-week sample in September.
I would never do that, Jeff. I know what you're talking about.
Never.
There's a long list of guys I've done that for.
Oh, we've all done.
Yeah, I also looked at that. Wilyer Abreu is playing a bunch in Boston. I preferred Rafaela. Pete Crow Armstrong, pretty big prospect for the Cubs, got called up, although it seems like they called him up to play defense. He's a really good center fielder. Made an unreal play his first night in Coors. That was like one of those like 12% chances of catching it sort of things. But it seems like he's not playing a lot. I was a little worried about the at-bats in Chicago with the fact that they're playing for something right now, and they probably are not just throwing him in the lineup every day.
Yeah, I think that's right. That is a problem. I mean, that's a weird team too, in terms of like they have a couple of prospects up. There's another kid who's up with the team that's barely played. Its name's escaping me because he's barely played, but I remember seeing a lot of online angst about that.
We're going Alexander Canario or Miles?
Yeah, Canario.
Okay.
It's Canario. That's exactly it. They kind of just called him up to be bench depth. Candelario got hurt, but you look at him, he's had one at bat. I'm like, why bother? Why don't you use that spot on a pitcher?
You could use it on Matt Mervis to hit the 30 home runs I'm still waiting on.
Not bitter.
It did
not bitter at all.
Did not
pick him up. Speculative pickup this week. He's gonna get it. He's gonna get the call and just be that hero that we all need.
Pick them up, hoping for the call up, and then you're out thinking everybody. I like the way you played that out for me there.
Okay.
Some guys there that come back from injury that are available in a lot of leagues. Josh Young was 74% rostered in the main event. Zach Neto was only 60% rostered. So some guys there that as we see, I had a Jorge Soler available in one of my main events. I picked him up. I really like that. I mean, homer today, hitting second. He was my top bid where it's available. It was very few leagues, but. It's you're just trying to find playing time. You're trying to find anybody that can slot in. It's you're like you said, you're looking for that hero that's going to get hot for 2 weeks.
Yeah, and it's just kind of gaming the playing time right now, and just hope it works out. I mean,
yeah, little playing time, little matchup, little what park they're playing in, little did the games matter. It's there's a lot of that, and it gets even worse next week. Next week is. I've had horrible luck in the last. Last week, you're just kind of really hoping to get lucky. Pitchers, throw 8 inning shutout or a 1 inning outing and they take them out. Hitters sit a bunch. This week is probably. I know we told you last week is kind of the last real week. This is mostly a real week, but since there's so many teams in it, I think that helps too. Last week of the season is just a circus.
Yeah. Yep. You really have to. And the thing is, you'll finally run into leagues where you're going to be like almost you'll have like 5 people bidding on players. Like there are some people that I feel like they're purposely like maxing out their FAAB so they don't have to do FAAB the last 2 weeks.
Yeah,
I may know something about that. But it's when you have a lot of leagues, you might as well, especially if you see that one player like Heston Kierstad. I'm going to max out on him. Why not?
Question in the chat, Jeff. Edouard Julien gets 6 against Cincy in LA, but 2 lefties. Do you think 4 games is enough to start Julien?
Well, yeah, because the lefties aren't going to go that deep anyhow. So,
So you
he'll
figure
probably
he
get in
starts
the game
4 and gets 2 pinch hits and maybe 6 in a game after that.
Mhm.
It depends on your format. Obviously, if you play in a NFBC, like a league where you can take half, like I'd love to start him the first half of the week against Cincy and then maybe sit in the second half of the week against LA. But if you got to play the whole week, which sounds like Benson needs to do, I think I'm still using him. 3-run homer today. Opposite field was a nice swing today. Jeff, the Twins are scoring right now. The Twins are playing pretty well. We talked about them last week as a team that they beat 3 out of 4 from the White Sox, but had 31 runs in those 4 games. And they have the type of pitching too that, like, if they get some offense, they get some starters that can beat you. I mean, we don't talk a lot about Sonny Gray. Sonny Gray's got an ERA under 3 on the season.
Yeah, he finally got a win today. It's achievement unlocked. I'm not bitter about that either. In terms of just the utter lack of run and bullpen support that he's had, but
pretty damn quiet 2.84 ERA season.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I would say also Twins with Royce Lewis, Twins without Royce Lewis.
Dude hits a grand slam every friggin' day. It's crazy. He leads baseball in RBI since August 15th, Jeff.
Yeah, well, and their running joke was Twins with the bases loaded. That's like a sure double play, weird stuff happening, the sort of thing. And then Lewis comes in and he's like grand slam all the time now. He's awesome. James Anderson was all over that. He was like, I value Royce Lewis more than Ellie. I value him.
Oh wow, that's a statement right there. All right.
Yeah. So good on James. And that encouraged. I got him in friends and family basically on that endorsement.
Yeah. I actually had him in the main event and dropped him when he got hurt. And boy, has that has been a big regret. Usually dropping on injuries usually works out pretty well, because they usually last longer than they are. But that one has hurt pretty badly.
That's the gift that keeps on giving. You notice they finally called Bailey Ober back up. That was annoying that they even sent him down in the first place. But because, for Dallas Keuchel, really? Ober struggled a little bit in August. I get it, but Dallas Keuchel, really?
Yeah, it was the Keuchel thing was an odd. Ober pitched pretty well this week too against the White Sox. 5 innings, 2 runs, 0 walks, and 6 strikeouts. Another guy that they could add. And you throw him in the bullpen in a playoff series. I think it lays out really nice. I do think that someone mentioned the chat of the Twins frisky in the AL. I kind of think the Twins are frisky in the AL. I think that they're the team that, if you're Baltimore or Tampa or Houston or I think that's a team that, I don't know how much you want to play that team. Everybody made fun of the Central all year long. But I don't know. You throw Gray, you throw Pablo Lopez, you throw Joe Ryan and Kenta Maeda out there. It's a team that can pitch every night with you. Anybody they throw out there can throw a really nice game.
Well, and they're going to face one of the Rangers, Mariners, Blue Jays, or Astros.
Whatever the wild card 4 seed, I guess I would be.
No, the 6 seed. There'll be 3 versus 6.
Oh,
right?
The 3 versus 6. That's right. Because the one gets a bye, right? And the other
1 and 2 get a bye.
See, I don't even know how the playoffs work anymore. It's crazy. There's only 6 teams. There was 7 for them in the COVID year.
Yeah,
so 1 and 2 get a
bye, and 3 versus 6, 4 versus 5
in a 3-game series. Correct?
I believe that's correct. And then, so it was kind of like it was, yeah. And then so I think a lot of people were thinking, okay, you want to position yourself to face the Twins. It's fine being the 6. Of course, you have to make the playoffs, so you can't really position that positioning is null and void when you've got the wild card races that we do in both the AL and the NL. I don't know if you necessarily want to face it, and you don't want to face the Brewers in the first round. That's for sure with their 3 stud starters. So, although it's funny, Fred and I are talking. The Brewers and the Twins and the Blue Jays all have very similar profiles. They pitch the heck out of the ball. They don't score a ton of runs. They could. There's a team out there that could score a lot of runs with each of them, but they just don't.
I'd rather play all those teams except for Houston rather than Minnesota. I'd rather play Toronto, Texas, or Seattle than play Minnesota. Yeah, I'd rather play Minnesota than Houston. So we got the best of 3, and then the second round is still best of 5, right? The DS is still best of 5, I believe.
Yes.
Okay. It's, you think I should know these things, but it's changed around so much. But so 1 and 2 get a bye. Gotcha. Let's jump into just a bit of pitching on the FAAB side. It's again always tough to find those. But first, note for our sponsors at Home Run Index. We know the weather can impact how far a ball can fly, but we never know what all the heat and humidity or cold air is really doing to the ball. The home run forecast index gives us an easy way to determine how good or bad the air is for ball flight. The index is calculated by measuring stadium-specific weather conditions and is displayed on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the most unfavorable for good ball flight and 10 indicating the most favorable air. There's a strong correlation between the index and the number of runs scored per game and the number of home runs hit. Games that have the highest index, 10, for the whole game average over 10 runs and 2.8 homers over the course of a year. An index is created for each game so you can see what will be in any stadium and how the weather's influence might change over the course of the game as well as the wind direction. Right now, you can get access to the HRF premium site for only $5 a month and see what the index will look like for every hour of every game. Go to homerunforecast.com now to sign up. Jeff, I'm going to let you go first. What the heck did you do with pitching this week? I had a bunch of names thrown together, and I wasn't sure I wanted any of them or didn't want any of them. Is there anybody that you really wanted this week? It sounds like maybe Sawyer Gibson-Long was going to be the answer to your question.
I mean, it's hard to ignore the strikeouts that he got, right?
For sure.
Yeah, so he caught my eye. Who else caught my eye? Basically, anybody who has a pulse in his pitching. Right. In one of our leagues, we're just trying to chase wins, so it's like, okay. Your mission: find a 2-start starter that's available.
I think my answer to that this week was Adrian Hauser in Milwaukee, just on a good team, going against St. Louis, who you don't love, and the Miami obviously has been playing well, but I don't think you're like really fading anybody against Miami. I kind of like that one. It's on the road, but I think that Milwaukee's team you get some wins for, and if you're chasing wins, he's not a big strikeout guy, but chasing wins, he was kind of my favorite of the group.
Yeah, I can see it. I could definitely see that there.
It's September 17th. We're talking about picking up Adrian Hauser.
Yeah, or David Peterson, as I did in one league. Even though
it's a decent strikeout chase, though.
Yeah, but it's at Philly, though. I mean, it's not even good. But I mean, it's just Joey Lucchesi. I'm looking at because he
I added some Joey Lucchesi too.
We did
not getting any strikeouts, but usually throw some decent innings out there. Serviceable arm is kind of all you're looking for.
1 start this week, 2 the following week if form holds. It's kind of like poor man's Jose Quintana. I'll take it.
That's a terrible comp right there. You want to be poor man's Jose? He pitched pretty well today, though.
He's pitched pretty well in September.
Against our Reds.
Yes, I see. Also, Reds offense slumping. Yes, especially against lefties. I feel like.
Did you do anything with Jose Butto in New York? Speaking of 2-star pitchers, he's at Miami, at Philadelphia, but had a really good start this week against Arizona. 5 innings, 1 run, 7 strikeouts. I'd start before that with 6 1/3, 2 earned, 6 strikeouts. Really good back-to-back starts. I looked at all his minor league numbers and everything else, and I was like, this is really gross. So I kind of pulled back a little bit, but back-to-back good starts for Butto.
Yeah, I did not, but I think. Yeah, I didn't go crazy over him, but there's nothing to go crazy over at this point in time. You're getting a guy for $1 or you're not, basically.
Yeah. What did you guys do anything in St. Louis with Drew CD-ROM pitching twice this week?
He was on my list. He pitched well. Who did he pitch well against the other day? The Orioles. That's right.
Yeah, it was that caught my eye because it was against Baltimore. 5 1/3 shutout innings. Yeah, and 7 strikeouts there. The second start is against San Diego, which kind of freaked me out, but the first one's home against Milwaukee. Maybe you get okay there, but I thought he was a decently guy. I mean, obviously any of these guys you're worried about ratios, but I thought he was workable for 2 starts also.
Sure.
What do you do with the guys coming back off the injured list? It's kind of always hard to figure out, what these teams are going to do, but we've got potentially Shane Bieber. We've got potentially Tristan McKenzie coming back. Like, do you think that someone like Cleveland pitches guys enough innings to be workable for us? What'd you do with these kind of names? You see them and they pop out and they're available and you're like, oh my gosh, I can get Shane Bieber for the last 2 weeks. Would you do anything with either of these 2 arms in Cleveland?
Yeah, we did get Bieber in one of those leagues. Something heads up though. Not this week. This week the Guardians have 7, but the following week they only have 5.
God, so does Cincinnati.
Yeah, because they play each other.
That is weird on the last week of the season.
There's always interleague. There's got to be at least one interleague series at any given point in time during the season.
I'm glad that Benson got my CD-ROM joke, even though you didn't.
Oh, I got it.
He chose to ignore how bad it was.
I pulled a Jenstad and just kept moving on there.
You did. I now know how much it hurts when I do it to you. It really
Oh.
it really stabs you.
Yeah.
I find I just don't know how deep these guys are going to go. Like I was looking at, I picked up Chase Silseth last week in for the Angels, and I was like, oh, he's coming back, he's going to pitch, and he came back today in his rehab start, pitched a third of an inning, and they took him out. So obviously, you know, they're just trying to get in some work and kind of get him back from that concussion. But I have nightmares of, you know, Bieber coming out and throwing 2 innings and then going out. I just don't know what teams are going to do with these guys. It's so hard to figure. The guy coming back from the end, they're just trying to get him a couple innings. Or is he ready to throw 5 innings? It's so hard to know with these guys coming back from injuries.
And if those, and the thing is, you're like, are those innings bad? Is like his velocity down?
There's
and then
that
you're done again. And that's happened a lot of times.
Bieber threw 3 2/3 in his rehab start. So that's a pretty good sign right there. Like maybe he bumps it up and does pitch 5. He threw 50 pitches on Tuesday. So maybe he gets to 60, 70. I just don't know why. They don't need to push him, obviously, but if he can get to 60, he's 60, 70 pitches. He's workable and better than a lot of the names we mentioned too.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But if he isn't, then, you know, because there's a different sort of intensity with the big league game, right? And
for sure,
you worry about that. But yeah, still an option.
And he's going to face Baltimore, who needs to win and has no mercy. And it's a kind of a tough landing spot for Bieber.
Yeah, it is. It is. And yet, I mean, the skills are there. So
sure. Yeah. You're talking about
would you rather take a chance on Bieber or some of these unknowns? I don't know. It's a tough call.
If I thought Bieber was throwing 5 innings, it would be him easily. That's the only part that I'm a little worried about. But I mean, yeah, we're talking about some of the names we're talking about. You're risking you got that 1 2/3 9 earned runs is very much possible to play if they're just a little bit off.
Yep.
The Davis Martin from last year where he gave up 8 runs on the last day of the season. Yeah.
How about our old friend Chase Anderson throwing a near no-hitter this week?
Not a friend, Jeff. Never a friend.
I know. That's why I referred to him as such. I know.
I couldn't believe I looked at him. I think they were losing too when he went out. They were losing 1-0.
They were losing 1-0 with the no-hitter. And he didn't even have that many strikeouts either. It was in Coors. And yet the Rockies rallied to win that game. They took 3 out of 4 from the Giants. That was a beautiful thing.
Isn't that great? That's just so beautiful. The Giants are a weird team. I have no idea where they go.
So weird.
They're such a weird team. And all the Giants fans are like, we're just going to sign Ohtani and it'll be fine. I'm like, yeah, all right. Let's not go.
They could though. They really could.
How'd you read the Ohtani situation this week?
He's hurt. The Angels have given up. Why risk it?
The Angels are weird though.
They are,
like, the Rendon thing was strange too. He's like, I don't know why the team hasn't told you, but I had a broken tibia. I don't know why they didn't announce it. It was their whole thing was very strange.
Yeah, and everyone's like, when are you coming back? Well,
of course, he goes out his way to like that. He had the day where he said, I don't speak English and left the clubhouse. Like,
yeah,
I get the feeling
about it. Yeah.
He very much is. His season started out well with, you know, grabbing the fan the first weekend of the season. It was just downhill from there. But the Angels are weird. I have no idea where they go. I think they're going to trade Trout this offseason when he takes the contract.
I think so too. I think there'll be some sort of like discount on it a little bit, but yeah.
Like, are they willing to eat some of that? They got to be willing to eat some of it probably, but how much are they willing to eat to get out from under it? I don't know. I mean, it's where this team was, 4 months ago to where they might be to start next season is a wild transformation.
It is.
Artie Moreno's going to never want to sign a big contract ever again.
Artie sort of just finished the sale of the team. I think. Yeah. Just like the Washington Commanders, all of a sudden had this good mojo. I think the Angels would have had already sold the team.
It's so good seeing Sean Payton and Russell Wilson lose. It's great. It's so good. And you get a Hail Mary to tie the game, and then you don't get the 2-point conversion. Like, it's just so beautiful. I'm so glad they got it just to lose. It was even better that way.
Why do you hate Payton?
He just comes off as very smarmy to me. I don't know. There's a vibe. I think Russ is just cheesy more than anything. He's kind of a dork, and obviously, as a Niners fan, he was the enemy for a long time. I don't dislike it personally. He just seems like kind of a knucklehead. But
I kind of related the dorks out there in the world, but then again,
yeah, I don't know if I relate to the professional athlete making $30 million a year.
Well, that's a fair point. That's a fair point.
No, I don't know. Peyton Bug kind of rubs me the wrong way. I don't know. It always has. I didn't like him as an announcer or on TV commentator.
Yeah.
Either. All the Bounty Gate stuff. I don't know.
He didn't come off well on the Bounty Gate. That's for sure.
I've never been a Sean Payton guy.
Okay.
And just, I hated what he did to Nathaniel Hackett in the offseason. I thought that was just classless, calling him out that to that level. Like, get it. You can make a slide comment that, like, they weren't coached very well, but like the fact that he just called him out that badly and that obviously, I thought it was just low class.
Well, he was trying to position himself in favor of his, trying to like position himself in favor of his players, but obviously that backfired.
It came off really badly. And as a veteran coach, he should know better than that.
But. Yep.
What'd you do in the bullpen this week, Jeff? I think that Julian Merriweather was obviously the reliever that people wanted. Adbert Azalea, who's been incredibly good in the second half, is hurt. He has in the IL. It sounds like he's throwing, but I mean, I don't think we'll see him this week. Maybe the end of the season. But Merriweather's been good for the Cubs. A lot of strikeouts. Remember him from Toronto. It was probably 2 years ago where he was the big free agent bid, like early on in the year. Throwing 100, everybody bid on him, and then he got hurt himself. He's an injury-prone guy, but he's been good. Michael Fulmer, who's kind of splitting saves with, also went on the IL. But he's Merriweather's been under a 3 ERA in the second half. A lot of strikeouts in the second half, 35% strikeout rate. The walk rate's under 8%, which is really good. He's always a guy that has some walk issues. He throws so hard, but 12.5% walk rate in the first half, 8% in the second half. I actually think he's a pretty gem pickup here for these last couple weeks on a team that's competing for something too.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this is a guy we always looked at the skills in Toronto and we're like, oh, he's going to be the closer. Oh, yeah. Remember all those bids and
he was like $300-400 bids because everybody had money. It was like he was like the second week of April. Everybody had money. He had $400 or $500 bids. I mean, he throws gas.
He does.
Yeah, I think that that was kind of the one that any place you need a save or two, and there's a lot of leagues where a save or two makes a lot of difference. This week. Sure. Ryan Helsley took me from like 7 points to 11 points in saves. Like 2 or 3 saves can make a huge difference and win a league. I think Merriweather was a pretty big ad this week for teams that needed saves.
Yeah, I think so too. And I don't think I got him anywhere, dude. I wanted to, but just couldn't.
It was a weird week where I got him in a couple places, but like Gibson Long went for like double digits in all my leagues. So I wasn't even close to him, but I managed to slide Merriweather in a few places. Other reliever situations, like you can look at Kansas City and Taylor Clark got 2 saves a week. Carlos Hernandez has been horrible. We talked about him a couple, like before after the trade, like, wow, they're gonna trade their closer. Carlos Hernandez is gonna be the guy to pick up and hold for a couple weeks, and then he's the closer. It's been a terrible ride. I don't know if Taylor Clark's any good, but I think he's probably the guy that gets the next save up.
Yeah. Sure. I could see it. It's like these teams. We got 2 weeks left basically. Right. Yeah. So just
they could throw anybody out there in the ninth. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I took a stab on Tommy Conley. He
looked really good the other day when I saw him pitch. He looked really sharp.
Yeah. So that's a guy. Brian Shaw was available in one of my leagues. So I took a stab on him.
Do you see what Brian Shaw did this week?
No.
5 2/3, no earned 5 2/3. A lot of innings for a guy who was pitching the back end of the game, but 5 2/3, 7 strikeouts, no earned runs. He was really valuable this last week.
Yeah, when the league that I was looking at, like I looked at a 2-week window, and it's even better over 2 weeks. And I think it's White Sox though.
That's the problem. You may get great innings and no saves, but I don't know. Give me 5 1/3 and 7 strikeouts and no runs, and I'll take that to the bank every week if we can do that.
I mean, people that took a chance on Trevor May, for crying out loud, have benefited from it. So I mean, any team can get you saves. I mean, it's just you may have to go through a 2-week drought is the problem.
Yeah. I mean, look at someone like Clay Holmes. Clay Holmes didn't get a save for like a month, and he had 3 this week. Like it's just saves are so tough, and the White Sox could win 5-6 games last 2 weeks. That's far from crazy. Maybe Brian Shaw gets you 2 saves. I like that one too. I kind of like Hunter Harvey a little bit in Washington. Kyle Finnegan got smoked this weekend. Maybe starting to tire out a little bit. Hunter Harvey's been really good. I kind of feel like he's the guy they want to close games at some point anyway. He's been really good, good recently. Probably better than Finnegan had a really good stretch. He's been really valuable fantasy. But you look at Hunter Harvey last 15 innings to ERA under 2.5, getting some strikeouts. I think he's a guy that maybe can steal a save or two this down the stretch here.
Sure, why not?
Yeah. A couple of other players I want to talk about before we get out of here. We talked about Royce Lewis leading the majors in RBI since August 15th. I just took the last month or so. 36 RBIs. It helps when you hit 4 grand slams, of course. Where does Royce Lewis get drafted in 2024? Because we're at the point now where not much is going to change the last couple weeks as long as guys stay healthy. Where the heck does he go? Because I think it's going to be a gigantic helium name in March.
think you're right. I was going to ask you this question. That's the problem.
That's why you're the expert. I got to ask you.
I think there's so many good shortstops. I think he's short and third eligible, maybe. At least he has been this year. I don't know if that carries over to next year. I think, like Paul said, 4th or 5th round and gladly pay it. I think that's right. I think he might climb into the 3rd. It's just so many great shortstops.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was before Paul posted that, I was going to say 5th round. I think that a little bit of the injury stuff maybe keeps him a little bit out of the top, 50 or 60, but he's only going to be third base next year, Jeff, to answer that question. He played 47 games at 30. He only played 1 game at shortstop this year.
Is that all? Good, good that I'm paying attention. So
our friend Anthony Gialdi said he thinks he goes 3rd round by March. If that's the case, I will probably not get him. I don't think I'll pay that. I might be
honestly, I'd rather him be eligible at 3rd than short, though.
I actually would too. Third base has been a nightmare for me in a bunch of leagues.
Yeah.
Geez, that's a good question. Would you rather have Royce Lewis or Vlad Jr. next year? I'm still going Vlad Jr., but the fact that we asked the question is pretty wild in itself right there.
Yeah.
I don't think we get the big Royce Lewis stolen base numbers that he had in the minors. I don't think we're ever going to. I think that the injuries have kind of maybe chilled that off. I think he's a home run hitter, a really good hitter. I don't think we get the steals. I still got to go Vlad, but there's a couple of comments in the chat. People are going to pay for young stars. That's definitely the case. He might go 3rd round. I'm probably waiting until the 4-5 turn somewhere in there, but I do like him a lot.
And the Twins have a history of their injury-prone star not allowing him to run. So I mean, don't need to bring
the Twins have injury-prone stars.
Yeah, one in particular. So yeah,
he's still hurt right now, isn't he?
Yeah, of course he is.
Yeah. That may just.
Lewis has 6 bags in 55 games.
Yeah, it's not bad.
That you translate that, you can't extrapolate that because.
But give me 12 to 15.
I'll take 12 from him because I think the hit tool is legit. I think there's nothing fluky about that.
Now I'm getting called out. Anthony says, "Gonna be watching my draft." So can I take him in the 3rd round, or now I'm not allowed to anymore?
You're allowed to change your mind.
I tend to be one to get a little into the hype machine a little bit, but he got 14 home runs in those 55 games too. That's a big number.
Yeah, I think we like to say in the abstract this is a 3rd or 4th or 5th round player until we actually kind of go through all the names.
Yeah,
and go through actually do a rank, and then you're like, okay, him or him. Okay, now I'm at 60 players I'd rather have. Okay, now I get it.
When do you first draft?
Well, I do XFL at First Pitch Arizona first weekend in November. That's a keeper league though. Hybrid. It's kind of a hybrid between keeper and auction.
There are keeper some dynasty. DCs that draft at that too, right?
There are, and I've participated in that before. But for the most part, I don't really start going until January because of football. Because I have a lot of work to do in football.
Exactly.
It's not just paying attention to football; it's also just doing all the work for it. And
you do a weekly ranking of all the players. Like that must take an insane amount of time.
It does.
Yeah. Speaking of guys that we talked a lot about in the offseason, Bobby Witt was one of those guys. Like everybody's like, is he really the 8th overall player? He's a lot of people's choice for that's the 1st rounder I don't want.
Mm-hmm.
He's blown that out of the water. 280, 29 home runs, 47 stolen bases. I know stolen bases are up, but still 86 runs, 90 RBIs, as 5 category as you can be. Hard hit rate, which we were a little bit worried about, is up 7%. Not worried about that anymore. Bail rate, we were a little bit worried about, not anymore. Over 11%. Strikeout rate's down 4%. This has been an absolute step up, show up season. He's been awesome.
Yeah, it really has been. And anybody who faded him is regretting it.
Yep.
I only have Witt in early leagues. I don't have him anywhere late. And that was to my chagrin.
I mean, that's it's going to be a 30-50 season. That is a crazy fantasy season. We talk about those like we're talking about like Larry Walker and Ellis Burks in those Rocky days. Like 30-50 is a monster fantasy year.
Yep. I top 5 guy. By the way, it's so funny you mentioned Ellis Burks. So after softball every Thursday night, Shu and I'll do these like baseball trivia things with the team and all that. And it was like the 5 guys that have gone 40-40, I think. And Burks is one of them. And the fact that I got that was like, that was like Ellis Burks. Oh, because people forget Ellis Burks.
I think it's 330, 40, 30.
That's it. That's it.
You got to get the batting average in there because a lot of 40-40 guys.
It's because Acuna got there this year. That's right.
Yeah, so it was only Larry Walker and Ellis Burks, I think, until Acuna this year.
Also A-Rod, and then also there was
A-Rod. Did A-Rod get there batting average wise?
He did.
He must have that one.
He
monster
did that one.
Year, right?
He did 1 year. And then there's one other player and I'm blanking on that, but it was
A-Rod has not done it.
According to Tim, he had
a 358, 36, 15. In the year he was 40, 42, 46, he hit 310.
Okay, so it was 300 plus. I forget what the benchmark.
Yeah. The Chris List question is the 331. He always does the Larry Walker Ellis Burks one, but Ellis Burks.
It wasn't 330. It was 300, I think maybe.
Ellis Burks not the name you expect to be in this, but those Rocky teams, those Rocky years in Mile High were insane.
Vintage cores and Mile High. Oh, I like those days. Bring them back, even though it's probably terrible for the Rockies.
Ellis Burks 96, 344, 40, 32, 142 runs, 128 RBIs.
Yeah, those Blake
By the way,
numbers were so fun.
Never had another year where he had 100 runs or 100 RBIs except for that year.
Yeah, I mean there was
that's wild.
Some of the years like Vinny Castilla had there.
Oh yeah, Vinny was
obviously
Dante,
Galarraga,
Walker. Yeah, oh that's right, big cat.
Eric Young Sr.
That's right. Yeah, they had some monster offenses. We mentioned Tarek Skubal earlier when we were talking about some matchups for this week. He's been really, really good lately. Last 6 starts, 48 strikeouts, 2.43 ERA. How hyped is this guy going to be? I feel like this is going to be the mid-round pitcher that every single person wants next year. It's kind of be in that like Rasmussen, Jeffrey Springs kind of talking point that we had this year.
Starts around 12th round and ends in like the 8th, like the 6th round.
Like exactly what I'm thinking. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's start it now. Let's start him in the 8th.
30.7% strikeout rate and a 4.7% walk rate. 69 innings, 3.25, a whip under 1. Strike rate is up to 14.4%. This dude is going to get hyped to the moon next. He's going to be the pitcher everybody's talking about. He's going to be 7th round by the time when people are doing main events.
And that with Paul Sporer hyping it, you got to go to the 6th now.
Yeah, there you go. Tigers fan and pitching guru Paul Sporer in the chat talking about that. So I knew he would like that. But I mean, you look at it, it just looks really, really legit. This is a guy that was a big prospect before. He had some injury issues, but man, it looks odd. A K- walk of 26% is elite kind of stuff.
And this is his second spin at the hype train wheel. So
yeah. I think he's going to be. I think the full hype is going to be there. I think another guy with the full hype. I think we talked about him a little bit a few weeks ago, but Freddie Peralta has been really good in the second half. We talk about the Twins with pitching staffs that like could be really nasty in October. You go Burns, you go Woodruff, you go Freddie Peralta. You look at his second half: 64 2/3, 2.51 ERA. How about 93 strikeouts and 16 walks in that stretch?
Yep. Just him and Woodruff both just stay healthy. That's the thing.
For sure. Yeah, that's the thing with Peralta. This is the most innings he's ever pitched. He's at 156 2/3 right now, only 78 last year. You just always feel like there's this shoulder thing with him too. It's like you're always going to miss time. Is it going to be 2 weeks? It's going to be 2 months. But he has been really, really. He's been one of the best pitchers in baseball in the second half.
Yeah, he has.
So he's another guy. I think the hype train is going to be pretty big on him. I think everybody's going to want to be in on Peralta. It might be. I think the price last year was like late 3rd round. I don't think we'll get quite that high, but he's going to be probably a 5th rounder in 2024.
Yeah, I can see it. I think it'll go 4th round even.
You could. I have to look at all the pitchers, but yeah, you're probably right. I think that his pitchers get pushed up in March, so you're probably right.
I think he went 3rd or 4th in the DiPietro first mock.
Oh wow! All right.
Yeah, I got to double check on that but I think my memory is not failing me yet.
We got some old people in the chat tonight talking about the Todd Benzinger, Alex Burks, Mike Greenwell, Boston Red Sox outfield. That is it shows some age right there.
Yeah, Benzinger never could hit for power because he was a Red at one point too.
He was like Red's first base, a good average guy though, right?
I think he was part of that 1990 team if I recall correctly.
That team do anything, Jeff? I have blacked out 1990. It never really happened.
Never happened,
so
right?
What happened?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you win the World Series on a foul ball, like what am I going to do? It's hard to come back from that.
Yeah. But hey, that haven't won one since. That's
okay. By the way, neither had the A's.
Yeah, good point.
89 was the last one they won, so you're still more recent than me.
Yeah, I got that over you. Yay.
It's a really good thing the Warriors had a good stretch because my teams have not been good for a long time other than that.
Your Niners have been fine.
They won a Super Bowl in 30 years.
Really? Has that been that long?
1994.
Wow. They've been there so many times.
They've been there twice since then and lost in heartbreaking fashion both times. But yeah, it's wild to think about because I think everybody kind of thinks they've not won in 30 years.
That's wild. That is wild.
Again, we're old. It tends to happen, but yeah, it's but yeah, I can't complain. They won 5 times when I was a kid. I mean, it was really fun. So there are no complaints there, but I like to see them win. And 30 years is enough where I can start to want one again, right?
Sure.
Yeah. Last guy I want to ask you about is a good guy to end on tonight. Teoscar Hernandez. We both drafted the main event, had a really rough start to the year. Been really good lately. He finally settled in. He's leading the American League in RBIs since August 15th, hitting 350, 8 home runs, 29 RBIs in that stretch. He's up to 25 home runs, 6 stolen bases, hitting 265, which I think if you had bet me on that, I would have bet is a lot lower than that, just based on how badly the season started. A lot of strikeouts still. He's kind of the same guy, but as I look deeper and deeper, he's just kind of the same Teoscar. I think I may back in again next year with the thought that I think the price will be a little bit lower too.
I will have to get a lower price to take him because the batting average floor is so low.
It is.
I think the Seattle factor was one I didn't give enough credence to. I think
it's a good point too. I think that I just kind of figured, he's a guy that hits the ball so far, it won't impact him that much. The hard hit rate, all hard hit and barrels, all down a touch, but still really elite level stuff. Way too many strikeouts as always, but everything's pretty much the same as it was last year. And I think we're going to get a discount.
Yeah. So let's define that discount.
What we taking this year? The 5th round or 4th round?
Yeah. 4th, 5th, I think.
5th?
Maybe. Yeah.
I think you get him 2 rounds later next year.
I think I need him to go in the 8th in a 15 teamer before.
I think if we're in the same league, I'm going to jump in the 7th. I think I'm good taking him in the 7th.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe I'll just I'm going to be vehement about not paying for an early closer and then go that way. But something has to give, right? If you're taking Teoscar there, that's like one starter you're not getting, one closer you're not getting. So
for sure, yeah, it depends how your team is built. There's so many dynamics in there. I'm not going to take Tim Anderson there. I know that.
Yeah, I think that one's safe. I'll let someone get the big discount, and they can punish me with that one.
Would you believe me if I told you he still has 1 home run?
I would believe you.
Is that incredible?
Yeah.
He's been 114 games. He has 1 home run.
How do you come back from that? I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's a way, but yeah.
He's got a 2.6 barrel rate. So the barrel rate does support the lack of home runs. It's not like he's stinking the ball anywhere. But 1 home run is it's probably the wildest stat, I think, from this year is the fact that he has 1 home run.
Yeah, I just haven't seen anything that's like, okay, well, he's been terrible, but there's this encouraging note,
No, there's nothing. I mean, he had a good average this week, but it's all dippy little singles. There's just no pop there at all right now.
Yep.
Anybody else you want to talk about, Jeff? News and notes. You mentioned Acuna missed this weekend with calf. He's a tough call. You're gonna have to look at lineups, but the Braves have zero reason to push. And they need him healthy. They play 7 games this week, so obviously, if he's in the lineup tomorrow, you're just playing him and you kind of hope. But I think that I think it'd be pretty safe to say Acuna's going to miss a number of games on the stretch here as they make sure that he's totally right. And it'd be fully explainable if they did. Jeff, 1-day game tomorrow. Guardians and Royals played 11-10. So anybody that's starting to Guardians Royals, the only one, at least a team, you don't have a ton of players, but there is 1-day game for all those people on the West Coast. Make sure you get your lineups in early.
Yeah, for sure. The guy I'm sweating is Brian De La Cruz. I've got him in a couple of places, including the RotoWire Staff Keeper League. And, I don't get the Friday swap either. So that makes it even harder. It could be, you could miss nothing. He could miss 1 game, or he could miss, a whole week. And a whole week is devastating.
To answer Paul's question in the chat, I think Tim Anderson's price fully bottoms out.
Yeah,
it's been such a big talked about thing all year. I think he fully bottoms out.
So what is fully bottomed out? 15th round?
My number in my head was 15. So yeah, I think that's about right.
Will you pay that?
No.
I probably won't either. I mean I think if you've gone through this season with him, I think you probably won't.
I don't want to hold grudges, but that's gonna be a really hard one to jump back in on. It's gonna have to be that's gonna be like a point where I'm like, oh, I gotta take him now, and I could drop him really easily in the 15th round. I don't feel like I could drop him really easily.
Yeah. Again, like you said, the Statcast metrics back up the page itself. There's nothing encouraging about his profile.
No, I mean it's gross, and he never walks either. So like you don't get that either. So if he's not hitting, and you want some stolen bases, he has 13. Like you could find 13 stolen bases right now at any point.
Javi Baez or Tim Anderson?
God,
Death
neither.
is not an option.
Neither. Death.
Can't. Nope. You got to choose one.
Oh God. Geez, Tim Anderson. Oh God, that's awful. I had Javi Baez available in some leagues. I didn't even bid on him in the 15.
He's not even playing every day anymore.
No, I looked at the play. I actually looked at the playing time. I'm like, oh, and I'm like, oh no, don't want it. Yeah. He's I think Javi's pretty much done. It's too bad because Javi Baez was a really, maybe people forget, but Javi Baez was a really, really fun player when he
Yep. Well, heck, the time with the Mets before I guess that would be in 20
before he signed with 2021, before he signed with
21.
Detroit.
Yeah. Poor Detroit. They tried to do the right thing, and that's blown up in their face spectacularly.
Yeah, they did, but like, did any of us not know that contract was going to age exceptionally poorly?
Yeah, that's true, I guess. Yeah.
He's got someone, Anthony Gijaldi asked in the chat how many years left on Baez contract. He has 4 years left. There is an opt-out clause, but I don't think he's taking the opt-out.
Asking Paul that, it's a hate crime to ask me that.
He's got 4 years left.
Contract.
4 years left for $100 million, and there is no way in hell he's opting out about that.
No, it would be the worst. It'd be way worse than Jody Reed. If you Google that, by the way.
Oh God, Jody. Speaking of old Red Sox, my God, that's a good name right there. I hadn't heard about Jody Reed in a long time.
Yeah, he was the canonical example of bad decision by a player. And at that point in time, the difference was a couple $100,000 is the funny thing, but that was big. That's still big for us normals.
I think Javi's going to go ahead and opt in for 2024 if I had to.
Yeah, I suggest he should.
Anybody else on your mind, Jeff? Anything else you want to talk about before we jump out of here?
I think you nailed Jody Reed. You got to end on a high note like that, right?
I agree. I think that's a really good point there. But if anybody wants to follow Jeff on Twitter for more 1980s obscure references, he's at Jeff_Erickson. I am at Scott Jenstad. We do appreciate everybody listening. Appreciate all the comments in the chat. I know I speak for Jeff when I say this season's been really fun for both of us. I really enjoy all the chat. I enjoy talking baseball. I know we joke around a lot, but I really enjoy doing the show and it's fun. We have one more show. Is that right, Jeff?
Correct.
We'll be talking next week. We'll kind of be wrapping up stuff, talking to 2024, talking FAAB for next week because it still matters. As someone who has had FAAB hurt and help over the last week, I know that it really does matter. So we'll be back talking about that for people with the last few bucks left. Hopefully everybody's going to be making some runs this week and then hang on next week is kind of the goal here. So we do appreciate everybody listening. Thanks again, as always. And we'll be back at you next night for one more baseball episode. Take care.